We have lots of news and rumors to discuss today, including the latest trade talk out of the Calgary Flames. They clearly will be a team that's very busy down the stretch here, heading to the NHL trade deadline with the latest updates regarding their blue line. Noah Hanifin, where it's his preferred destination. Jacob Markstrom, what's happening with him. Some other defensemen they're having a key look at to bring in to replace the defensemen they've moved out as well, including players in Montreal and Nashville. Big talk out of Boston as well, but a potential Linus Ullmark trade could be linked to the team like the LA Kings. We'll discuss further there as well. Evgeny Kuznetsov found himself on NHL waivers. We'll discuss that situation, plus lots of other news around the league, including some big injury updates out of Columbus, roster moves out of Toronto, a few others, and a signing in New York. All that coming up next. Welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As you see, we got lots to talk about today. Certainly running a bit of a different schedule here, as we've seen in some couple of videos here posted the last few days. Certainly have, in case you weren't aware, I'm away on the road on vacation and ended up on the West Coast here. So normally I'm on the East Coast, 4 hour time difference for me for where I normally am compared to here. So it's a long travel day, and it's kind of thrown off my schedule here a bit. So we'll try to get back on track over the next couple of days and kind of get content posted at its normal time, hopefully. But lots of news to talk about. Let's start with the big situation involving Evgeny Kuznetsov in Washington. Of course, just a couple of days back, it was about 48 hours ago, we found out that he was released from the NHL Player Assistance Program, which was good to hear in a way, because obviously he went into that program seeking help and assistance, and clearly he needed that. But he was just released from that program, and then the very next day, not even 24 hours later, the Capitals placed him on waivers. So that was certainly not shocking, but somewhat surprising with the timing. But clearly their intentions were to get him to the minors or have another team pick him up. He still has another year in his contract, $7.8 million. We knew it was very unlikely. He did not get picked up. He has cleared, and the Capitals have assigned him to AHL's Hershey affiliate. So certainly a situation where a veteran player making a lot of money gets sent down, which is not very common. I believe he's the highest salaried NHL player to ever be sent down and put on an active AHL roster. So that's quite telling. I don't know what the future holds for him. Will he be recalled? Will they keep him down there until they can eventually make a move? If they can't move him, will there be a buyout this summer? I mean, they've been talking about moving on from Kuznetsov for a long time, and it's well overdue, but because of the contract, it's very complicated to make it happen. I do wonder if putting him through waivers now ahead of the deadline, it might increase their chances of getting a team to take him, because they can send him down, but there's still lots of money going to be eaten up on salary cap. But they still have to offer an incentive, so I don't see it happening, but you never know. I mean, it still was a big play by the Capitals to put him on waivers. Obviously, I'm sure his reps and himself are not pleased with it, but he hasn't really lived up to his contract, and you got to understand the team's got to be able to do something here to move on. So we'll see what comes next for those two. That's definitely a relationship that's broken and needing to be repaired, likely by moving on. Some other updates around the league. We got a big update on an injury in Columbus. Youngster Kent Johnson is done for the year early. He's got a torn labrum in his shoulder, so he's going to require surgery and will be out for an extended period of time. Makes sense to not bother trying to play through it and get this done now, so we can try to have more of a summer available for training to get ready for next year. So that's certainly not good news in Columbus. Hopefully Johnson can make a full recovery and be back ready to go next year. We have some other news as well regarding some injuries. The Canucks have Tyler Myers out week to week. The Leafs yesterday, which, well, it feels like an eternity ago because of my travel time, and the time difference here has really kind of messed me up. But before yesterday's game, they activated Yarncroke and sent Nick Robertson back to the minors. The Robertson was mainly the one selected because he doesn't need waivers, so it was an easier move. I don't suspect he'll be down there for too long. A few signings as well. The Philadelphia Flyers today signed Denver Barkley, who gets his 3-year ELC. He was a 2023 third-round selection, having a phenomenal year in the OHL for the London Knights with 87 points in 57 games. Not overly big player, though. He's only 5'9", 154, so you certainly got to hope that he adds some size and strength to have a better shot at making the NHL. I know in today's game, size isn't as important as it used to be, but that's still, to my opinion, small enough frame to the point that it's going to be risking injury and whatnot. So we'll see, but he's looking like a real solid player in junior, but big jump to the pros. We'll have to see how that goes, but getting him signed is a big step for the Flyers. And the Rangers have signed Jonathan Quick to a 1-year contract extension as well. Good little raise for him, about $400,000 more he's making this year. He's getting $1.275 million for next year. So anybody who thought Jonathan Quick was kind of washed and near the end of his career, he's still near the end, yes, but he's not done. And he's had a real solid year and played a big role for the Rangers this year in their first place team, largely because of what he's been able to do amongst others there in the Big Apple. So nice to see Quick bounce back and have a real solid campaign for the Rangers. Obviously last year, Randy ended up in Vegas. I mean, he was basically used as a spare part for them, where he's come to New York with a bigger role and certainly flourished because of that. Now, as I mentioned as well, where I am now on the West Coast, it's late Sunday night here, so it's into the wee hours of the morning. Monday, I guess, on the East Coast, which seems to be probably a higher percentage of the viewers. But on Saturday headlines on Hockey Night in Canada, Elliotte Friedman talked about a bunch of situations, but he did talk about Jacob Markstrom in Calgary. We had heard the comments made by Markstrom to Eric Francis in the media scrum a few days back with the Flames. Clearly called out Flames management, was not happy how the whole situation was handled with the trade that came to be. I think Friedman suspects that Markstrom was kind of led to believe this trade with the Devils was going to happen and he was going to get moved, and then it didn't happen. And, he kind of probably wishes they wouldn't have come to him to waive if it wasn't going to be a for sure done deal. But he called out Flames management publicly and obviously not pleased with how everything has gone there. But Friedman states that the Devils have definitely decided that Markstrom is their top choice. He is their preferred goalie that they want to target here. So they've made it clear to Calgary that they're willing to kind of re-engage and kind of renegotiate this deal. There was even some reporters saying that they believe that the Devils would be willing to look at this with no salary retention, which would change things a bit for the Flames too. So obviously that's a big change. Now, when it comes to Markstrom, Friedman made mention if we don't see this deal come together before the deadline, don't be shocked if the Flames don't move him, and don't be surprised if the Devils don't necessarily go after another goalie, because they're pretty set on getting Markstrom by the sounds of things. That he said if you don't see them make another move for a goalie, this deal's probably going to get revisited in the summer. And Markstrom likely does end up in New Jersey. At least it sounds like the odds are pretty good long term. So we'll see where things go. But the Devils seem to be pretty well have their heart set on bringing Markstrom to New Jersey. Whether or not he makes it there before the deadline or after the season is another story. But we'll see. Tom Fitzgerald seems to be quite content on that. Lots of other deals out of Calgary that we need to talk about. When it comes to Noah Hanifin, there's further information today, again, from more reporters, and kind of piggybacking on the info that Freeman put out a few days ago and did discuss on Saturday headlines as well. The Noah Hanifin's preferred destination from enough sources appears to be the Tampa Bay Lightning. We know they have the ability to do this now because of the Mikhail Sergachev injury, but on a long-term basis, to bring in Hanifin and assign him to an extension will be tricky. And I do wonder what kind of role that'll be in them keeping Steven Stamkos. Hanifin's still young enough that it makes sense to get a long-term deal for them if they want to bring him in. but it will complicate keeping Captain Steven Stamkos. So we'll see. I mean, there's other teams definitely in the mix. Just because it's Hanifin's preferred destination doesn't mean that's definitely where it's going to be. Tampa, I don't know what their offer would be to the Flames, but Friedman did mention that the Flames are looking more for some top prospects, more so than picks. That they would like to get some prospects already drafted, probably a little closer to stepping in and being able to play in the lineup. So this deal may not necessarily be loaded with high-end draft capital, as it might be hopefully loaded with a really good couple of prospects. But we'll have to see where that goes. But Hanifin to Tampa appears to be a thing that's got a lot of weight behind it. Now, like I mentioned before, the Bruins are definitely in the mix. I think they're more so looking at the forward group, though. And the Bruins are a team that struggled as of late. They haven't done well. I think they have got 3 regulation wins in their last 10, including 5 overtime losses. So points-wise, they're still keeping up okay. But this team has not been the same when it comes to just kind of mowing down their opponents and picking up wins. A lot of what a lot of us thought we'd see in the beginning of the year with no Bergeron, no Krejci, and see that regression. Lately, it's been showing. So I'm not sure which is the real team here that we'll get, but certainly the Bruins have had their fair share of struggles lately. So a guy like Hanifin would be of interest for sure. Now, the Bruins also have some other stuff that we're going to talk about here in a moment regarding their goaltenders. But with the Flames, obviously with, Hanifin being on the move, Tanev's already gone. Some defensemen that they're looking at to bring in to be the future of this blue line includes Tyson Barrie in Nashville. There is some reportedly serious interest from the Flames there. We know that Nashville is definitely, almost definitely going to move Barrie ahead of the deadline for sure. So that brings him in, possibly to the Flames. And then you've got a guy like Jordan Harris in Montreal apparently has generated a lot of interest from Calgary. We had heard about Harris before, that there is definitely going to be a player that we'll likely see Montreal move, and there's lots of interest there. In the case of Barrie and Harris, obviously we know Barrie's not sticking around in Nashville long term, and the Habs defensemen have both been, in the rumor mill here as of late and on the Flames' radar. So it is possible we may see Calgary go after one or both of those guys. So we'll see there. When it comes to the LA Kings, there is some talk as well that with the Devils having their struggles lately, they may try to go after Tyler Toffoli for a reunion in Los Angeles. Obviously, he's been moved a few times since he left LA, but he had some of his greatest success, at least winning the Stanley Cup there for sure. And with the wingers they have out injured right now, there is some interest apparently from Rob Blake and Toffoli. So with the Devils being on a bit of a skid and now looking like they're most likely not going to get in the playoffs, I do wonder if Toffoli will possibly want to be moved rather than finish the season there. So we'll see where that goes. But Toffoli going back to LA is not really a shocking thought, and it wouldn't be surprising if that did happen. But there are other teams with interest in Toffoli as well, including his former team, the Vancouver Canucks. So we'll see where things go on that front. When it comes to the goalies, though, Boston Bruins goalie Linus Ullmark is still generating some interest, legit interest out there as well, according to Boston Hockey Now. There is a lot more talk and speculation that the Bruins may be more serious about making a move here. Obviously, having these 2 great goalies is a luxury that many teams feel like they can't afford to give up, but it certainly does complicate things moving forward as well, but from a cap perspective and everything. So, moving on from one of their goalies is something that does make some sense. Now, according to some reporters out there, Linus Ullmark has generated serious, legit interest from a team like the LA Kings as well. The Kings are a team that likely will make multiple additions given the LTIR availability. Ullmark is not a given to get moved, but should Boston move him, I suspect they would much rather to see him go west, rather to an Eastern Conference rival who, could end up having him be their goalie in the playoffs. So some players in LA that was reportedly, on a block that could be of interest to Boston would be youngsters like, Arthur Kaliev, Alex Kerfoot. There's some other prospects up there, maybe a first-round pick. So the Kings and Bruins certainly could do some business here. But again, Ullmark will definitely have full say over this as well, given his known trade. We'll have to see where it goes. But if the Bruins are serious about making additions, outside of the goalies, I don't know if there's a ton of value there for what they can add. So we'll have to see where that goes. But at the end of the day, over time, they're going to have to make some adjustments here to kind of, balance their team out. So we'll see. It's a luxury that they have right now in these two great goalies. Will one of them get moved to make, additions in other areas to see if this team can still contend for a Stanley Cup? So we'll see what happens there. But Ullmark definitely getting some legit interest on the trade market. So we'll see what happens. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.